Hey everybody, it's the first bundle live of the day. I am still alive and functioning. I even took a walk and listened to nature. And like spring has sprung in Durham, North Carolina. Like the flowering shrubs are like super flowering. Like, I don't know if you can see back here, those are some camellias from my camellia bush that's going crazy. I'll bring them up.
Oh, how
Well,
beautiful.
so
Yeah.
those of you who are still experiencing winter, you can have just a little peek of spring.
Mhm.
And I'm going to let our guest today introduce herself and tell us all
Yeah.
about all the things. And I'm also going to
All right.
fix this thing right
Can you
here.
see me okay?
I can.
All right. Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Spencer. I'm super excited to be here with Chef Kathy today. And yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a cardiac RN for 27 years. I used to run an outpatient heart failure clinic for 17 years. So all of my patients, I mean, in the hospital, of course, and especially in a cardiac hospital, are really, really sick. And and it's all caused by the food. Like in cardiology, it's all from the food for the most part. And so about 5 years ago, my husband developed diabetes, and I freaked out because I know that diabetes is step one to heart disease. That's like, and like in my heart failure clinic, I'd say 95% of my patients were diabetic. Like it would stick in my head. I'd be like, oh, you're that one guy that's not diabetic. Like everyone's diabetic. And so yeah, I freaked out. I had just all I'd seen was a documentary from What the Health that showed that diabetes was reversible. You will never hear that in the mainstream medical field. I had never heard that type 2 diabetes was reversible. And so, yeah, we switched to a plant-based diet. We reversed his diabetes in about 3 months. We both lost 20 pounds. And then I fell down the rabbit hole and I discovered all this plant-based nutrition stuff. And anyway, one thing led to another, and I ended up getting board certified in lifestyle medicine. And so now I do a bunch of just education, and I focus on chronic disease reversal. And these are like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and weight loss. These are all the things that are kind of underline our chronic disease epidemic. And if you work in the medical field, this is all you see all day. I'm in Arkansas. I mean, like, so we're in the sausage biscuit belt. Yes. And so all of my patients, I mean, most of my patients are have a lot of excess weight and just are riddled with these chronic diseases. And we just really have no resources. Like I'd come in, my patients would come to me, and like some of them might be 200 pounds overweight. They've blown their knees out. They're in heart failure. They're wheelchair bound. And I know it's the food, but all I am equipped to do is like give them IV Lasix to pull the fluid out of their lungs and try to just keep them out of the ER. So I'm just doing the top tip of the iceberg, and it over the course of 20, 30 years, it gets a little bit depressing. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
doing lifestyle medicine. Yeah, and whole food plant-based nutrition now. And I'll tell you about, so my course in the bundle is my You're as Old as Your Arteries course. And it is everything about how to avoid the number one cause of death in the Western world, which is heart disease. And it was really evident to me when I started learning about, like I did the T. Colin Campbell certification program and then the board certification, but it was very clear to me, like everything that we don't know, or we choose not to know in the mainstream medical field, right? Like it's not clear to a lot of doctors that heart disease is reversible, and it's not clear that you can drastically lower your cholesterol with a whole food plant-based diet and a few other little tricks without the need for statins. I mean, and also the kind of like futility of non-emergent stents. So I cover all things like this in my class. These are all the things that if you don't have access to a plant-based cardiologist, if you don't have access to a plant-based doctor, and you're just like a regular person, but you've got high cholesterol, you've got high blood pressure, you've got heart disease, and your doctors are just telling you to do the chicken salmon diet and to do your statins and your stents, this is some good information to have. To be clear, this is just general information, And you always need to be working with your primary care doctor or your cardiologist. Never change meds or drop meds without a doctor's order. And there are sometimes stents and statins are actually necessary, but I'm going to tell you about the times when they are of very little use. Okay. And so you'll learn the difference in my course. But yeah, so today, you want me to do my little spiel about my demo today?
Yeah.
So,
Also, I have a question for you from Angela.
yeah.
You know Boomer and Beyond Wellness. I think you know her as well. Wants to know if you have a private platform, or like how do people work with you individually?
So I do consultations on, so my website is naturalstateplantbased.com, and you can book a coaching session with me. There's just, like it says, individualized coaching, and you can just book it there. But yeah, so I do that. And then like all my courses, of course, like, like my big courses in the bundle, and also in the bundle, I have my Where Do You Get Your Protein class, and like kind of everything you need to get started, and references for your family practice physician about plant-based nutrition and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. But anyway, a lot of stuff is in the bundle, but all of my courses you can purchase them online if you'd rather not get an amazing deal in the bundle.
But you can do both. So you can purchase what you have in the bundle, because the bundle's only available through Sunday night at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time, right? And then it's done. Yeah. But if you miss that, if you're watching this months later when it's way past March 10th, you can go to her site and still get this course. So that's really important.
And you can get
other courses,
I'm sorry. I have an entire, like the whole package is called the 21-day plant-based challenge. And I lead you through like basically it's kind of like a 7-week process. You learn for 4 weeks. We learn about the different disease processes. We learn cooking skills, and it's my course is intended for beginners. So like we drop meat the first week, we work on dropping dairy. The second week, we work on dropping oil. The third week, we do labs and then like get baseline labs, go through my whole course. And then after 4 weeks, after you learn, because I work with real people, Kathy. I mean, when I say real people, I mean,
you mean like standard American diet.
Standard American diet. That is my entire background. I'm not used to working with former Olympians that want to like lose their last ounce of extra fat. Like I'm used to working with people that are gravely ill. And yeah, so like, yes, it's an easy, like, let's wrap our heads around this. I assume I'm going to have to convince you before you'll even drop the meat at first, and then I have to convince you about the dairy. And so like, we just slowly work our way through this for 4 weeks. And then after 4 weeks, I want my students to do what I call the 21-day challenge. So after 4 weeks of slowly building up your skills, wrapping your head around it, developing a game plan, then we're going to go 21 days, 100% all in, whole food, plant-based, no oil. And then after that 21-day period, I want them to go get repeat labs with their family doctor. And then we're going to do like repeat blood pressure, repeat weight, and see how much progress we've made. And like people will frequently lose 15 to 20 pounds during the 21-day plant-based challenge. But yeah, so it's just an excellent, I mean, it is so much more effective than the drugs, the devices, the procedures. I mean, sometimes you do need an intervention, but when it comes to like decreasing cholesterol, reversing coronary artery disease, diet is so much more effective than all of these drugs and devices.
That's amazing. That program sounds so great. And I don't know if you've already thought about this too, but that program is also perfect for like the reluctant spouse.
Yes. In fact, I have an entire reluctant spouse section. And yes. And that's the thing, Kathy, like some people, when they learn about, and there's all sorts of different personalities. And honestly, I even kind of have the personality that's like, I don't know about this. Like I saw Forks Over Knives 12 years ago, or when it first came out probably. And I was like, wow, I was amazed. But I had like 3 boys at home, and I was like, like as far as I was concerned, I didn't have any health problems. Like we were healthy. And I was like, and at that point, I pretty much kind of cut out meat, but the dairy part, like I just didn't want to give it up, and it went over my head. And I'm like, and I thought after the boys move out, I'll switch to a plant-based diet, right? Like they're still not moved out. It's 10 years later. But sometimes like we have the knowledge that plant-based nutrition exists, and this is a thing, like this is a treatment that we can use that's very effective. Okay, now I understand that. And then sometimes we just have to wait until we get our scary diagnosis. And it's just a matter of time for most people. And so then once my husband came home showing that he was like pre-diabetic, I was like, that's it. We're starting tomorrow. I don't care what anyone says. And you don't even have an option. Like Paul didn't fight me, but I wasn't even going to give him an option. And so like, then once I felt like, oh, we have to do this. And I felt like I had enough of a reason and I could tell the kids like, we have to do this for your dad. Mm-hmm. Then, and so we did. And I thought it was going to be really hard. Like I thought it'd be miserable, like especially without the oil and everything. And
right.
like, so
and
we started and I'm like,
that's the easiest thing to give up on a whole food, plant-based, no oil diet if you're coming from the standard American diet.
Right. And you don't even miss it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually easy. I'm like, I can't believe this is so easy. And I was just full for the first time. Like I used to always be so hungry and, like I'm out working the day job. I have to be at work at 7, I have like 15 minutes for lunch. And I remember just always being so hungry at work, like, just trying to wait till lunch. And then I'd be so hungry before dinner because I was eating a low fiber diet. But once I switched to a plant-based diet and then I started eating legumes 3 times a day and started like just filling up with fiber. And then like my pants start getting looser and I'm not hungry. Like I'm not going to die before lunch. Yeah.
Doesn't it make you feel crazy? Like we did the McDougall 12-day program in July. So me and my reluctant spouse, which is also why I mentioned that, right? And it was crazy because I was really trying to tempt her. So like I was working hard. I was cooking constantly and making these amazing meals for her. And it was crazy that we ate as much as we did and we lost so much weight in those 12 days.
Right. Oh my gosh. I can imagine being married to Kathy Hester and going on a plant-based diet. Oh my gosh. Did you know how lucky she is?
Well, people tell her all the time, but I don't think she knows how lucky she is.
But I mean, sometimes people, like there's different personalities and there's some personalities, like they watch Forks Over Knives the first time and they're like, the next day they're like 100%, they're cleaning out their fridge. But a lot of people just have a different temperament and they're like, well, I don't know. I don't know that I really want to change everything I know. And I've even had people like take my entire course and then they're like, well, I'll think about it. Like I'll think about starting someday, like they just haven't quite made up their mind to start yet. And I remember I had this one student, she's like, I just don't think this plant-based thing is for me, even after she took my course. But she was like kind of eating plant-based. And then she emailed me 4 months later and she said, you know what? My knees don't hurt anymore. And I said, well, that's probably because you started eating like even partially plant-based. And then like it takes longer if you do it partially, but you'll still have improvements. And then once people experience like just a little bit of improvements and they realize the food's pretty good, then they're more likely to dive in. And I always tell people too, like with the reluctant spouse, if you can just slip some fiber into their diet, or if you can just get them like in the collaborator recipe bundle or the big recipe book with all the collaborators, my kitchen sink smoothie is in that recipe, in that cookbook. And like I recommend, like if you could just get them to do the smoothie for breakfast, even if they still want to have their turkey wraps and their whatever, then they'll start, like if they do my kitchen sink smoothie recipe, they're going to get like a ton of different nutrients. They're going to get fiber. They're going to get, it's so healthy. And most people are not going to like necessarily completely fight, to the death on just changing their breakfast, and then their gut microbiome will start to change and then their taste buds start to change. And so it's just a gradual process and then they get more and more open-minded. But yeah, some people are on like a 1-year trajectory for transitioning to a whole food plant-based diet. And some people are on a 1-week trajectory. And then we have tension in the marriage, don't you know?
Well, when Cheryl met me, I went vegetarian in 1983, and I think I went vegan around 2010, 2011, somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
And so she went vegan in 2019.
Uh-huh.
So what she would do is she would eat vegan at home because there was like a month that the doctor, because she had type 2 diabetes. Sorry, I may
Oh,
have
yeah.
trouble speaking because I've spoken more in the past week than I have in my entire life. Um, but so like I got her a George Foreman because I stopped, I never learned how to cook meat. So I'm like, I will kill you. So
Sure.
there's your George Foreman. There's your corner of the
Uh-huh.
dining room. Have fun. Don't put that
Mm-hmm.
stuff on any of my cutting boards because I'm like super grossed out by it. Um,
Yeah.
but then, people have to do it in their own time and they have to have their own reason. So I like what you're talking about too, is like you figure it out. Like when her knees weren't feeling so sore, then that was a light bulb moment for her. And I think that
Yeah.
if you're doing it for health, if you're doing it for the environment, if you're doing it for the animals, it doesn't matter why you're doing it. You just need to know why you're doing it to
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep
Mm-hmm.
forward. Just like any other change you make in your life, right? You can't be like,
Yeah.
I'm just eating smoothies because somebody told me to, right? There has
Right.
to be
Yeah.
something in there. And with Cheryl, she wasn't eating any greens, and so I got greens in her smoothies. I was making chocolate milkshakes at night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you
That's
just
the
got to do
secret.
what you got to do, right?
And another trick you can do, I'll tell you, I also own a microgreens business. That's like that's how I make money. But so I sell
Ooh.
microgreens at like the farmers market and to restaurants. But I have a rainbow mix, and I think you could maybe just see if like they have stuff like this at Whole Foods. But microgreens are really like they're like hyper concentrated vegetables. They're just like little vegetable seedlings, but they've got anywhere from 4 to 40 times more nutrient density than a raw vegetable, the raw vegetable they grow into. And so I load my smoothie up with microgreens. And the beauty of the microgreens, like they're just so young and tender, they just vanish into your smoothie and you don't even know they're there. Like it's different than like kale, like you can kind of tell the kale's there. But I mean, like I'll put like 5 inches of microgreens in my smoothie, blend it all up. You can't even taste it, but you get just tons of nutrition.
How
So
do you,
yeah.
are they, they're real tiny though. They're only like this tall, right? Or
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're
in
like
general,
this.
I know
And
there's
my
different ones.
Yeah, and my rainbow mix has 11 varieties in it. And it's like 11 weird things that you don't normally get. So it's really good for your gut microbiome to get a wide variety of plants. Like you want to get like 30 different varieties per week. And sometimes it gets kind of hard, But yeah, this adds 11 to your number. So it's got like buckwheat lettuce and amaranth and beet, kohlrabi, and like just crazy stuff. But you just get a handful, dump it in, you get all those
Ooh.
vegetables and nutrients. Hmm.
We're going to have to talk.
Yeah.
Do you get a seed mix? Or is that giving away a trade secret? Don't give away a
I
trade secret.
do. Well, I do. I have a mix, but then I also add like 5 different things to it.
Okay.
I do not recommend trying to do rainbow mix at home if you're not a professional microgreens grower. It is so not worth it. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a microgreens grower at our local farmers market, so I can check that out.
Yeah, but
I've
check
grown a
out
little
your farmers.
baby one once, so
Yeah. But you like get like that's what I have a bunch of. I mean, like I even have like people I do home delivery because they eat like they're not even plant based, but they go through like 6 bags of microgreens a week. But but yeah, just you can get them at your local farmers market. But try that with Cheryl and just like dump them in your chocolate shake and they
well,
eat
she's
and, they,
good
and
now.
she'll never know they're there.
Yeah, she's really good now, and she loves greens, and so I cook a lot of greens, and she wants them. But like what, 17 years ago, she thought broccoli was weird.
Oh, sure, right,
So
right.
I always
But
like to
it
tell
changes. I
people
mean,
they can grow and change
right,
when they want to.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and my husband was the same way. Like he would not eat tofu for years. And then just like something clicked, like, I don't know, like a year ago. And then he's addicted to tofu. Like he just finally realized like it's kind of like meat because it's so high in protein and high in fat. You put a little tamari and now he'll like air fry it all by himself. Like, yeah. And he loves it, but it just takes time. So,
Oh,
yeah.
and tofu is just, I think it's delectable. We do have a
Oh, it
question for
is.
you from
Mm-hmm.
Apple, and I'm probably going to not say this right. It says, can nutrition reduce the risk for Minoca, Minoca, all capitals, Minoca. I had one in 2022 and don't want it to happen again. I have and have had no markers for cardiovascular disease. And I think that was some sort of heart event, but
I don't know what that is.
Can you write it out,
See if she
Apple?
can. See if she can say a different word that makes. Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Okay, and I'll let you know when she does.
Yeah, let me know if it comes up. But
So
yeah, but yeah, you want me to do my little demo or
you do whatever you want. This is your
do
time
whatever
to
I want?
shine.
Well, I'll do my little demo and then I'll also tell you because I'll do the demo first and then I'll explain what's in my You're as Old as Your Arteries course. But
Oh,
yeah, I like to
and we
explain
do
to
have it.
people.
I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah,
try
sure.
this.
What is it?
Myocardial infraction with non-obstructive coronary arteries. Would you like me to say
Okay, a
that one more time?
myocardial infarction is a heart attack with non-obstructive coronary. I mean, usually an MI by definition means that the artery is obstructed. But what was the question? Like, can you reverse that with plants?
Yeah, can nutrition reduce the risks of it happening again, I think.
Absolutely. And this is exactly what I'm going to talk about in my demo right now.
Perfect.
So yeah, now that we've clarified, we're talking about heart attacks. You're in the right place. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about heart attacks. So most people, Kathy, you tell me,
I'm going
what
to
do
try
you
and
think
switch
as
to the
a,
I'm going to try and switch
sure.
to the big camera real quick and see if that, well, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And
here we
y'all,
go. We're here.
my laptop wasn't cooperating, so I'm having to do this from my
fine.
phone, which is
And
why
you
I'm
look
tiny. So
you look lovely in this square.
oh, you're very kind. Anyway, okay. So Kathy, you tell me how does a heart attack happen? How do you think a heart attack happens?
Well, I don't really know, so we'll say that first of all. I'm so weird and precise that I'm the wrong person. But I think that probably your arteries get clogged. Now I've read this, and now I'm like, maybe it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
I also have been seeing this TikTok of someone singing, "If you're over 45, don't shovel snow." So maybe overexerting. I don't know why that's coming up on my For You feed.
Okay, perfect. You are the perfect lead-in for what I'm trying to say. So that's the common belief is that the reason we have heart attacks is because our arteries get clogged, right? So we're born and we start off with this beautiful wide open artery, okay? And I don't know if you can see, but there's a little
If you could hold it up
red
just
line.
a little bit, but yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, there's a little red line around the inside. And that's the endothelium. That's the lining of the artery. And we're going to talk more about that later. But yeah, a clogged artery, it's hard for me to tell. Am I going the right way?
Yeah, that's perfect.
This is a clogged artery, right? With just the tiny pinhole here, okay?
Oh, wow, that's all?
And this does happen, right? But I think the most common perception is like, oh, heart attacks happen when our arteries get clogged. It's just like if you had a PVC pipe and there's sludge building up, and then eventually the sludge just goes all the way to the top and it's clogged, right? Mm. Actually, that only happens 10% of the time that your arteries just clog, okay? So with like a mechanical sludge building up. What happens 90% of the time is that our arteries rupture, okay? And so in the clog, like a plaque like that with just a pinhole, that's a like 98% occlusion, okay? But 90% of heart attacks occur from small clogs or small plaques that are anywhere from 10% to 40%. So this right here is about come backwards, is about a 40% plaque that includes 40%. And do you think you're going to have symptoms with a 40% plaque? Nope, you won't. You won't have chest pain. You won't even feel that. Yeah. Surprisingly, people can have a lot of like junk in their arteries and not even feel it. But it's usually when you're about 70% that you start to have some chest pain, shortness of breath, chest heaviness, angina. But so yeah, the vast majority of heart attacks come from these tiny unstable plaques that you don't even know that you have. So we're all walking around thinking like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm running marathons, but I'm running marathons and I'm still eating the cheeseburger afterwards. I mean, that's what like a lot of runners run so that they can eat junk, you know? So they're still becoming inflamed. They're still loading their bloodstream with cholesterol. Let me show you. This is what the blood looks like when you are eating things like this, okay? Let me see. Yeah, this is the clear, this is the serum. So this yellow part, when we draw blood out of your arm, the yellow part is the serum, and that separates out, and it should be clear. But when we're eating steak and fun things like that, our blood gets really cloudy. We just have literal fat floating in our bloodstream. So if we have, raw, saturated fat here, that's not going to melt at room temperature. Even if you were in a hot room, that fat on that T-bone steak isn't going to melt, right? It's also going to be solid at 98.6 degrees inside your arteries, okay? So we've got this cholesterol that starts to lay on the arteries, but it doesn't just lay like sludge, it burrows on in. And especially what we call the low density lipoprotein, and then like the very low density lipoprotein burrows underneath the lining of your artery, and it causes an inflammatory process. So it makes what ends up being like a pimple right here, okay? And then you will get a little rupture, and then the pimple is going to burst, and then all this blood is going to go out into the artery and clot it off, and that's a heart attack, okay? So the question is, what makes it rupture, right? Mm-hmm. And so there were pathologists can actually help us answer this question. And so, Kathy, you have probably made rock candy before, right? With sugar and water. Have you ever done that?
I had to do it for a science. I had it when I was a kid.
I know. I had to do it as a science experiment for my kids, and actually I failed because I didn't get enough sugar in, and I could never get it to crystallize. But anyway, rock candy occurs when you have super saturated sugar, like on a stove, like in a slurry, and you get just like just enough sugar, and then at one point it will actually crystallize, and we all kind of know what rock candy is, right? Mm-hmm. Well, pathologists have observed when they're doing autopsies on people that have died of a heart attack that there are cholesterol. Now look at this. This is my little PVC artery. See that plaque in your artery?
Perfect.
But they have observed that arteries actually have crystallized plaque. Yes, cholesterol crystals. Okay. And so researchers were curious about this phenomenon, and they thought maybe that is the cause of the heart attacks, right? Is that the cholesterol actually crystallizes. So they did a study, and they put a supersaturated cholesterol solution in a test tube, and then they just added like more and more drops of cholesterol to it until at one point it hit the tipping point and it crystallized, right? Just like the straw that breaks the camel's back. So it's like one cholesterol molecule will make that plaque super saturate and it crystallizes. And at the point of crystallization, and a lot of these plaques are kind of like encapsulated in an area in your artery. When they crystallize in the test tube, they found that, I'm going to show you, we're going to pretend this saran wrap here is the lining of your artery, the endothelium that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And when that plaque crystallizes, it expands. There we go. It expands by 45%, and it ruptures up, and it's able to break through the endothelial lining. And so they posited that that's probably the actual cause, is that these plaques get super saturated and then expand in size and rupture out. And that's what causes the heart attacks. And so they did a study, and they like on in pathology on autopsies, and they had two groups of patients on autopsy. One group of patients were people that have died from a heart attack. They had the heart attack. And then the other group was people that had known heart disease, like they had known, cloggy arteries, but they hadn't had a heart attack yet. But they died of another reason, like maybe a car accident or something. Okay. So of the first group of patients that everyone died of a heart attack, they observed all of their cholesterol plaques on autopsy, and they found that 100% of them had crystallized cholesterol plaques. And then they observed the people with, then the people with heart disease that hadn't had a heart attack yet, but they were nevertheless, they had died from another reason on the pathologist table. Not a single one of them had cholesterol crystallized yet. Their plaques were just not crystallized. So that's how that we've really developed the theory that is the actual cause of the heart attacks, is that the plaques crystallize to the point where they expand and rupture. And so if you think about it that way, it's like it's just going to be that one cholesterol molecule that's going to tip it over to the crystallization point. So just think about that the next time you're like getting cheese on your pizza or you're having a turkey wrap. So where does cholesterol come from? All animal products contain cholesterol. All meat, all dairy, all fish, all eggs. In fact, egg yolks are the highest cholesterol food there is. But so if you want to right now say, I don't want that cholesterol plaque to rupture, and I have another video that I've done, and this is in my course, but I talk about how early in life that we start to develop fatty streaks in our arteries, and how often we typically tend to have cholesterol plaques. Most of us, the short answer is, unless you've been vegan or whole food plant-based for 40 years, we probably all have some cholesterol plaques. We all have these like 10% cholesterol plaques at least. And you'll never know that you do. There's no, we have an indirect way of measuring by checking your blood cholesterol level, but you're never, you don't want to have like a left heart cath to see if you have blockage. Like you can't, that's extreme tests that you wouldn't ever do without symptoms. And so, the best thing you can do is flat out eliminate cholesterol in your diet. And if you cut out animal products, you have cut out all dietary cholesterol. And we don't require any cholesterol from our diet. Our liver makes all the cholesterol that we need. So that's the fastest way to undo that risk, is just cut out the animal products. And then I'll tell you real quick, the other topics I cover in my You're as Old as Your Arteries course, that's just like one little part of it. I talk about, are you more like a border collie or a rabbit when it comes to coronary arteries? I talk about the role of inflammation and how that leads to erosion of the endothelium and promotes heart attacks. We talk about high blood pressure. We talk about understanding salt. We talk about olive oil. We talk about coconut oil. We talk about dietary strategies, the research on what can make you heart attack proof. We talk about cooking without oil. And then I also have, like I said, the where do you get your protein class, along with my You're as Old as Your Arteries class. And the where do you get your protein class has a lot of references for your primary care doctor that is not plant-based. So it's just a sheet you can print off and you can hand to your doctor, and it says, I am not nuts, even though I've heard about this on the internet. This information comes from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So I have a bunch of resources from ACLM for your family practice physician from their physician peers. And there's also a free continuing medical education course for your doctor, 5.5 hours from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, that will educate them about everything they need to know about plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine, and chronic disease reversal. So, But it's super exciting. So if you're thinking, I just am going to die because I can't eat fun things like ice cream anymore, if only we had a way in the year 2024 to figure out how we could make healthy ice cream so we don't have to suffer. Yeah.
You're hilarious.
Ta-da!
I love Bundle Week because we get to meet all these new people. So Stephanie asked me to make some Ninja Creamy, and so let me pull one out of the freezer, and I'm going to show you the one that I've been talking about that I've been reluctant to share, because I use leftover oatmeal. So I'll show you this one and we'll make one. It's a little
okay.
old, but it's got the little hump, so we'll get to see all that stuff. So I'll leave it out, and we're gonna make one really quick too.
All right.
And I'm just gonna use, with this one, I did not use, here, let me get I didn't blend it.
Now, Kathy, tell them real quick, just in case people are brand new here, like what is a creamy? What's the philosophy behind it? Like,
great.
why can't we just scoop out healthy ice cream?
Well, the Ninja Creamy is great because I love it. No, because I found a way to use, like, you can get vegan ice cream, and it is often still high in saturated fat, lots of coconut, lots of nuts, lots of things like that. And I'm not saying you can't have that. That might be on your eating plan. But the Ninja Creamy book that I did, I wanted to start with whole food plant-based ingredients. So like oats. There are some nuts in there and stuff too, should you want to. And this is a new oat recipe where, and it looks horrible. This is my leftover steel cut oats from yesterday. I pulled some out, stuck it in the fridge. You could cover it like a grown-up, but it's bundle week, so I just threw it in the fridge. And that's basically in here, I just took some leftover oatmeal, filled it about halfway, added some soy milk. I think I used some cocoa, and I probably used maple syrup in this one because this is my own lazy one. We're gonna use some dates and make a vanilla one. And the Ninja Creamy has a blade, and we'll see it work. It actually, it's not an ice shaver, but it does shave this. It's made off of a Paco Jet, which is a really expensive Michelin star tool. They lost their trademark, and Ninja made one. Is kind of how that worked. And if you look in the Ninja Creamy book, like, you can do things like throw a can of pineapple and juice and make Dole Whip, which is great. But they also have a lot of coconut milk recipes. So I kind of experimented and found out a way that, because it's going to freeze too hard and will break the machine if you put water in here. So you can't make like shave ice or something like that. Yeah. And most of their recipes use fat and sugar to make it softer. But also fiber can make it softer. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And hopefully this will be warm enough that you can even put these in the microwave for just like 30 seconds to kind of help it go along. So we'll see where it is. And also you'll notice, and you have a Ninja Creamy already?
I do not yet.
Okay.
I know. Isn't that terrible?
And there's different models. This is the Breeze, which I don't think you can get anymore. Any of the models work fine. Don't be fooled by the fancy buttons. You can make all the things in all the places. Yeah. So this is just my beast. So we'll use it really quick. And I just made some soy milk. So let me grab that. I'm straining out my okara for all kinds of good purposes.
Oh, cool.
So usually I make this in a different container where I know where the 2-cup mark is. So the regular Ninja Creamy pint is 2 cups. The deluxe Ninja Creamy pint is 3 cups. It's not you, it's them. So let's just say that right now. So we're going to go ahead and let me move this over. And oh, that's not what I want to move over. Why am I not seeing where I can change my camera? Here we go. Is this the camera I want? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put this oatmeal in here, and it is, you know, a glob of oatmeal. It's nothing super exciting or special. We'll put a few dates in here. Get this in here. And I do prefer to blend everything up because you'll see we're going to have some whole oats in this one. I'm probably going to put about, these are Deglets, so I'm probably going to put about 6. You can put however much.
So Kathy, are you going to blend it all up with the blade and the creamy?
No, I'm actually using the Beast. So I'm going to blend it up before I put it in.
You're just showing how we do it in advance and then you freeze it.
Yeah, gotcha. This is the pint we're going to put it in. And probably about a cup of milk, and then we'll see. And you could use any kind of non-dairy milk that you want. You could use brown rice milk. Soy milk and oat milk are quite nice. You could actually, we're kind of making an extra rich oat milk just because there's oats in there already. Okay, let me come back to the first camera. This is working different than it usually does. Okay, and this is just a little blender, and we'll blend it up really nice. Possibly. Oh, we'll plug it in, and then we'll blend it up.
That always helps.
Look, lights come on when you turn it on.
All right.
And I realized I didn't put the vanilla powder in, so I'm just gonna put that in real quick. You can put vanilla extract and see it's got a lot of oomph to it. And it's okay that these dates aren't completely blended because it's gonna get shaved as well.
Oh, sure.
So let me just go ahead and put a little bit of vanilla powder in here. You can also get 0 alcohol vanilla extract. I'm going to put about a 1/4 teaspoon. And sometimes I'll use them together, actually. Come back up here. And it took me a while to talk Chef AJ into blending them. It does make a nicer product. You'll see, this is going to be a little harder. We'll live through it. Because there's an ice wall that happens. So there's lots of little tiny details that aren't actually terribly important. So then I find that this actually creates a texture a lot like Breyer's ice cream, like full fat ice cream. And yeah, and some of that is just from oats have fat in them, right? Natural foods have fat.
Yeah.
So a whole food plant-based no oil diet is actually a low fat diet and not a no fat diet. Even if you're being, like following SOFAs and you're not doing nuts, avocados, and seeds, you're still doing. See, look how thick that is. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks amazing.
And we could have done it with just water instead of non-dairy milk if we wanted to. And you want to stop about at that max fill line. And what we'll do, see, look, then it's going to get frozen for about 24 hours. We'll put the lid on it, put it in our freezer. And then when it comes out like this, there's almost always like a hump. And so the first thing we want to do is scrape that hump down. And it's not hard. This one's been in there a little while, so it's a little bit harder. But if it's not leveled off at the top, you can come into some issues with your blade. And that's when you see things like scratchings in the plastic, or people are saying, I used the Ninja Creamy and it had plastic in it. It's because you didn't give it a chance to be able to go down straight, right? And there we go. And this one is frozen really solid. I probably could have taken it out earlier. So normally with this particular one, it's going to be an experiment. I love just seeing what happens. And one of the reasons I haven't shared the oatmeal leftover one is that sometimes it can get a little stringy this way. The new way that I'm doing it should not, but you might see some excitement. Let me get in here and find my lid. Is in here somewhere. There it is. When you have 3 of these, I found every one but this one. So there's a little lid, and the blade goes in here. There's a little bit of play in the blade. That's normal. Okay, and then it goes on here. This one is a little different than the other two, which you take the creamy pint and it like goes in here. You put the creamy pint in here and then you put something else on it. So your model may vary. Also, with as dry as this is, I'm expecting to A, have to respin and probably add some more non-dairy milk to it. Okay. All right. Yes, it's plugged in. Look at that. Normally with my mixtures that are going to be no oil, we're going to use light ice cream or sorbet. So what happens is through this, it goes this way in this one. There's a rod, it takes the blade off and it goes down. I'll show you with this other camera as it's doing it. So you want to, have it going down slow, but the blade moving faster around. So that changes the speed of that. It sounds a little bit like math, but it's not that bad. I'm going to put on light ice cream. The breeze is a little bit quieter. Let me see if I can find, there we go.
Ooh, wow. Sounds like an airplane taking off.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. I'm going to try and get some of this off. And it's going to take a few minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll take a look. You're like, you didn't know you were asking for all this, right?
Yeah, my goodness.
And so what'll happen,
amazing, then.
It's really cool. Because it's so frozen, there may be like a millimeter ice wall, so you may or may not be able to see everything. But it has
Gotcha.
at the top it tells you kind of where it is, and I'll move away so you guys don't have to hear it so much. One thing that I do like about the breeze is it's quieter than the others, which you're probably going, what? The others are much louder. So if you're in an apartment, you're not going to be making your Ninja Creamy at 3 o'clock in the morning, probably. But I'm working on a new Ninja Creamy cookbook with different bases like sweet potatoes, zucchini, cauliflower, which just think of anything that you've put vegetables in smoothies, right? It's kind of the same deal. It's just not that big a deal. You don't really taste them as much in the Whole Food Plant-Based Ninja Creamy ebook that I have that's not in the bundle. But there is one that has chickpea chocolate. And there's a lot of ways you can, like the chickpeas give you that fiber and fullness that allows it not to freeze as solid as a sorbet.
Gotcha. Oh.
And normally I would let this sit out for about 10 or 15 minutes. See, can you guys see the blade?
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And it's going to come back up and you can...
That's amazing if that blade went all the way through it.
Right? And you saw how hard it was.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And a lot of times when people make their first pint, they're like, well, it's not creamy, it's powdery. I'm expecting this one to be powdery. And I'm going to show you, it's very simple. It means you need to use the respin button. If it's very powdery, you just add a little bit of liquid, be it non-dairy milk. If it's not sweet enough, you could add some date syrup or maple syrup. Okay. So we'll get this. And see, powdery.
Okay, sure.
Which is what I'm expecting. Because another way, if you just can't stand it like that, so it looks a little like Dippin' Dots, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take this spoon and just kind of go through the middle. And I'm going to probably, it's like maybe 3 tablespoons. If it's just not quite as frozen as this, I might add a little less. This one's pretty frozen and I'm pushing it hard. So I'm probably adding about 3 tablespoons. You pretty much can't add more than you can add.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, that makes sense.
And then there's right here, there's a respin button. And you can eat half of this, level it off, put it back in the freezer. You don't start with respin. Whenever it comes out of the freezer, you start with the main one, right? Because it's hard. Respin means you've already spun it once.
Okay.
Why is it not like it now? Oh, it must not have it. There we go. And I'll give you that other camera view. And you can hear even now it's going slower because it's going slower around and slower down. But it looks like it's going much faster because it's not meeting all that resistance.
Gotcha. Huh.
And so I put some peppermint extract in here, maple syrup, and cocoa. Let's see if I'm looking for my big scoop.
Chocolate mint, huh?
Yeah, it's chocolate mint because Cheryl loves chocolate. Here we go.
Me too.
So we'll scoop up. And sometimes you have to respin more than once. And it's okay if you do, right? Because it's still ice cream. And it still didn't cost you $9, and it's made of healthy ingredients.
Right.
Okay. Alrighty. And yeah, this looks pretty good.
Oh, wow.
So I'll scoop up a couple of scoops, and it's like,
oh, yes.
so take a
goodness.
look. Let me come back over here and look at that.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you see here, like when we come to cut it, see how it has a lot of give, like a full fat ice cream would.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Mm.
Yeah. And so that's my new oat version, my cooked oat version. Oops, let me come back. Come back to the front. But yeah,
that is the beauty of like having the internet and things like the bundle, like, because when you talk about like these are the foods you need to eat, anything that grows out of the ground, whole grains, legumes, and so in their minds people think like, oh, that's just like steamed brown rice and broccoli is what I have to eat. Or, like they think of the ingredients just separately, individually steamed, and it seems boring. But you can get these things, like you can mix it up in a smoothie. You can make a creamy, like you're getting your oats and your fiber, and you're getting plant sterols from the soy milk. I mean, but in your brain is like, it's chocolate ice cream.
right? And that's the thing is, one of the things you can make it as sweet or not sweet as you want, or use whatever sweetener works for your health condition too. And that's something that's kind of important. But like, yeah, people don't think you can have this.
Right. And dates are a whole food with fiber. So if it has fiber, it still has antioxidants. So that's like a whole food sweetener when you just put dates in.
And you can just do so many different things. And one of the things I like about this is that you can try all different kinds of things. You can also hide some veggies in here if you need to, for kids or a picky spouse, things like that. Yep. But I agree with you completely, because people think, oh, this is the death of like eating really delicious food.
Right.
And it's not.
Nope. It's
you
not,
can still have
got
mac and cheese. You're hilarious. Thank you so much. That's very kind. No, this is because I can't help but think about weird things, and I'm cheap, so I make things from scratch.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm amazed at like the variety of whole food, plant-based, just crazy concoctions that you crank out every day. Like I have a formula. Like I eat my smoothie at breakfast. Like I'll have lentil soup at lunch. Like I just have a formula so I don't have to think. But Kathy wakes up in the morning and she's like, what crazy different thing could I make for breakfast on a Tuesday morning? So
you're hilarious. There are times like Cheryl made our oatmeal, which I still haven't even touched yet, by the way. It's like sitting over here with my little chai spice on it waiting for my
Oh my
break.
goodness.
But no, Cheryl's gotten, since we've done the McDougal program, she takes care of some things. But I love getting ideas. Like that's my favorite happy crafty place is making oat
Hmm.
cheese powder and
Oh
things
wow.
like that.
Yeah.
But thank
Oh
you
my goodness.
so much
Yeah.
for all the information. You told me so many things I just don't know. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
you betcha. Are there any other questions on the stream there?
Let me come and look. And if you guys have some other questions, let me know. When we change to a whole food plant-based SOS way of eating, do the crystals and plaque dissolve or flatten back out and lessen the chance of rupture? So whole food plant-based, no sugar, salt, or oil.
Right. So that's the whole idea. And like really typically you are only going to be crystallized, we think, if you've literally had a heart attack. And I will tell you this, for heart attack survivors, it is still recommended that you take a statin. I mean, even plant-based cardiologists recommend a statin if you have had a heart attack, because we have to, in addition to eliminating the cholesterol from our diet by cutting out the animal products, we're going to also turn off your liver's ability to make cholesterol so we can get that blood cholesterol fat level as low as humanly possible so we can desaturate those crystallized cholesterol. Okay. Now, if you haven't had a heart attack yet, you probably have not ever reached the point of developing cholesterol crystals, right? So the answer for everything is like today, stop eating animal products so that you can continue to desaturate that cholesterol. And let me show you a little graphic. Here is, okay, here's, no, this way. Okay.
Okay.
Here is a big plaque, a 40% plaque, right? And all those little dots are tightly concentrated cholesterol, right? So we moved to Kathy's ice cream instead of Breyer's ice cream. And now we've got less cholesterol plaques. See that? They're diffused, and that plaque is getting smaller because the cholesterol can out-migrate, but it can only out-migrate from the plaque if the blood is super low in fat. And then there's that diffusion gradient. It'll go from an area of high concentration here to an area of low concentration here. And then we want to get to this point where our plaque is just getting smaller and smaller. And this white line, this is the endothelium. And as you cut out inflammatory foods, that endothelium can repair. And that is what we call the life jacket of the artery. And the endothelium is like a Kevlar vest that's going to hold back any cholesterol plaques that want to try to rupture. And those leafy greens, Dr. Esselstyn, who's like a big heart disease reversal pioneer, recommends 6 servings of cooked leafy greens a day because that's a high source of nitric oxide that repairs the lining of that artery. And if we repair the lining, that's the secret to being heart attack proof. So,
And
yes.
we have a question that actually is perfect for this. It says, Justine says, my dentist wants me to use fluoride, which I think interferes with nitric oxide production. Does that last all day? Am I getting any benefit from eating my greens if I'm using fluoride?
So that's a super technical question, but I'll tell you, I have been reading Dr. Michael Greger's How Not to Age book. And he has I'm not a fluoride expert, but he has a whole section about fluoride. I think it was him, unless I heard it somewhere else. But I think there are questions about like fluoride in the water, but I believe Dr. Greger said that fluoride applications on your teeth were like useful for preventing cavities, but not having the downsides of fluoride. Honestly, I'm not a fluoride expert. I'm not going to probably
basically,
be able to.
maybe Google and see if you can find if it was Dr. Greger or someone saying
Go
that.
to nutritionfacts.org and in the search bar type in fluoride. Yes. And that's where like he's got videos about Dr. Greger's like a whole food plant-based researcher basically, or research explainer. And he has a video that's easy for anyone to understand about almost every topic known to man that's nutritional. Yeah.
That's a great point. Well, thank you so very much for
Yeah,
coming and hanging out and asking me to make ice cream, because now
I
Cheryl
know.
gets ice cream for well, it's brunchish.
If you have, like, I have a sweet tooth, and if you just know that you have like these little treats that are whole food plant based that the toddler inside your head wants to have, then it's so much easier to just switch to a plant based diet because you know you can still have yummy, fun stuff to eat. So that's it.
It's very
Yeah.
true. And I'm kind of like, try and keep it as simple as you can. So like if you saw this and you're like, "Whoa, that's way more than I can deal with." You don't have to do it. It's okay. It's really okay. You could make some tea and blend it with dates and put it in popsicles, and you could still have a delightful treat. So don't
Yeah.
let anything kind of get you from your like one true goal.
Oh, and I'll tell you also on Chef AJ, I was on Chef AJ Live yesterday. It's like it was the same cholesterol and crystal plaques, like with Nurse Stephanie or something. But and speaking of simple desserts, I have a super simple cholesterol lowering recipe. The recipe is in the bundle, but I make it on
Oh,
Chef AJ. And it's just yogurt and some powdery stuff that we mix in that research has shown is almost as effective as a statin. And then I just do, that's what I have for dessert every night because I am like a boring person that just doesn't want to think. And then I put like sprouted Ezekiel crunchy cereal and then blueberries on top and maybe like some maple syrup. And it's just a super simple,
oh.
no-brainer dessert that you can have that will literally help lower your cholesterol. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. And also, Liz Lena says Stephanie is right about what Dr. Greger says. It's on page 4709 of How Not to Age.
I get to where I have so much in my head, I can't quite remember, like, was it Dr. Greger? But I remember reading that somewhere. Yeah,
Well, and
good.
my community's awesome about like putting references up and stuff. And
Oh, and someone Googled when I was on Chef
oh,
AJ, they said like that, they Googled the cholesterol crystals and they're like, oh my gosh, it's totally true. It's on Wikipedia. But yeah, I have the original reference in my course, but yeah, it's even on Wikipedia. So,
that's
hmm
awesome. Yeah, the whole food plant-based community is just really, really awesome and nice and warm
hmm
and welcoming. And I'm so glad that you got to come hang out with me in my community today.
Yep.
And it was my first time meeting you, but hopefully it will not be the last time we hang out because this was a
I
lot of
know.
fun.
We'll have to do this again.
Okay, and tell them one more time where they can find you after the bundle.
After the bundle, natural state plant based .com is my website, but I'm also Natural State Plant Based on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And on my YouTube channel, I have just a whole bunch of videos where I just explain different concepts with like little demos and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you doing more lives
Mhm.
today or are you off
I
today?
am doing, this is my last one today. And then actually Friday is microgreen harvest and delivery day. And then Saturday, I'm doing a live with Raw Chef Yin on
She was
Instagram.
she's lovely. I don't know if you've met her yet. I
I
was
have
just on
not.
with her last night, so I met her in the bundle when we've been in the bundle 3 years. She's lovely. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so check out that one. I'll post it somewhere on my socials. So, yeah.
And I'm doing one at 1 and 3 today, and then I think I'm doing 4 tomorrow, probably 4 Saturday and 4 Sunday. And maybe I'll be able to speak at Sunday, or maybe Cheryl will be doing all the talking.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just gonna be taking naps after the bundle week is over. So, yeah.
I'm taking a couple of days off for
Yeah.
sure. I may
Oh
just
yeah.
lay in bed and
Mhm.
read, or just lay in bed and do nothing. Absolutely
That's
nothing.
it.
Oh,
Mhm.
Justine had a question. Wants to know if the replays for all my lives will be available for viewing after bundle week. I've missed some and may need some more time to watch them. Yes, I'm going to leave them. I'm not going to be able to do anything next week, so they will definitely be up next week. If they're somehow hurting my algorithm, I might take them down eventually, but I have no plans of going through and doing any of that super fast. And Joanne says it was so interesting. It's good to see you, Joanne. I was thinking about you the other day. We haven't seen you since you've moved to Georgia, but big hugs to you from me and Cheryl. And other than that, I'm going to go so I can eat my breakfast and be
I
ready for
know.
my 1 o'clock live. But thank you so much again. And bye, everybody.
Thank you, Kathy.
See you guys at 1.
All right.